You don't stay silent because you have nothing to say. You stay silent because somewhere along the way, you learned that speaking cost too much. Maybe it cost connection. Maybe it cost safety. Maybe it cost love. So you adapted. You became observant, careful, emotionally literate in everyone else's feelings except your own. You learned how to read the room before you learned how to read yourself. You learned when to nod, when to smile, when to disappear just enough to avoid friction. And here's the paradox, the thing no one tells you. What once protected you is now slowly erasing you. Silence kept you safe when you were small, but as an adult, silence doesn't protect, it isolates. You are not quiet by nature. You are quiet by conditioning, and deep down, you feel it. That subtle ache when conversations end and you realize you were present but not seen. That heaviness when people say, "You're so calm," but never ask what you're carrying. That loneliness that exists even in rooms full of people. This video is not about introversion. It's not about personality. This is about the psychology of silence as survival and the dark truth behind it. People who stay silent often come from environments where expression was unsafe, inconvenient, or ignored. Not always abusive, often worse, emotionally inconsistent, dismissive, overwhelmed. This is the terrain of emotional neglect, where nothing bad enough happened, yet nothing nourishing happened either. Let's ground this in psychology. When caregivers fail to respond to a child's emotional needs, the child learns a brutal lesson. My inner world is not important. So emotions are internalized, muted, intellectualized, never expressed. Silence trains awareness outward. You become exquisitely attuned to tone, mood shifts, micro-expressions. Your nervous system lives in a constant state of scanning. Is it safe now? Is it safe to speak now? This is not calm. This is freeze-response intelligence. When connection feels conditional, the psyche adapts by minimizing needs. You don't ask, you don't reach, you don't burden. You become low maintenance, which is often code for self-abandonment. Neurologically, the default mode network, the system responsible for self-referential thought, becomes hijacked by self-monitoring rather than self-expression. You are thinking about yourself instead of being yourself. Silence becomes identity. There's a grief that doesn't cry, a grief that doesn't scream, a grief that sits quietly inside people who were never allowed to take up space. Carl Jung warned, "What is not made conscious will be lived out as fate." Silence extracts a cost. First, authenticity. You trade truth for acceptance, expression for approval, depth for peacekeeping. Then comes the core fear. If I speak, I will be judged. If I'm seen, I will be abandoned. So you stay small, contained, palatable. Rainer Maria Rilke once wrote about living the questions, but you were never allowed to ask them out loud. Seneca spoke of inner freedom, yet how free can one be when their own voice feels dangerous? This is invisible grief. Not the grief of loss, but the grief of never being fully known. And the tragedy? The world never gets to meet the real you, and eventually, neither do you. Silence does not disappear with age. It evolves. You might notice it showing up like this. Relationships. You attract dominant or emotionally expressive partners, not because they're stronger, but because they fill the space you were taught to leave empty. You struggle to voice needs. Resentment builds quietly. Love becomes endurance. Career. You are competent but overlooked, brilliant but undercredited. Your ideas live in your head while louder voices claim the room. Boundaries. You say it's fine when it's not. You tolerate discomfort to avoid conflict. You mistake flexibility for virtue. Emotional regulation. You intellectualize feelings instead of feeling them. You explain pain instead of expressing it. You collapse privately after appearing composed. Identity confusion. You don't know what you want, only what others expect. You ask, "What should I feel?" instead of, "What do I feel?" Self-worth. You measure value by usefulness, by being easy, by not needing too much. Every one of these is a coping mechanism, not a flaw. But coping strategies are meant to be temporary, not lifelong identities. Unlearning silence requires awareness, not aggression. Softness, not force. Healing begins when you stop asking, "How do I speak louder?" and start asking, "Why did I have to be silent in the first place?" This is where the work begins. Inner child work. Listen to the part of you that learned silence as safety, not to shame it, but to thank it. Shadow work. Reclaim the anger, the needs, the desires you were taught to suppress. The shadow is not evil, it is exiled life force. Nervous system regulation. Safety must be felt, not reasoned. Breath, slowness, grounding. Your body must learn that expression no longer equals danger. Practice soft expression. Not performance, not confrontation, but small truths spoken consistently. And remember this: you do not need to earn the right to exist loudly. Silence kept you alive, but expression will make you whole. The goal is not to be fixed, but to become whole. If this resonated, share it with someone who never learned they were allowed to speak. Like, subscribe, and stay, because your voice belongs here.